They held her down while the rich man's son laughed. His designer shoe drove into the puppy's ribs once, twice, 3 times, each kick punctuated by the girl's screams. Security guards pinned her arms behind her back as she begged them to stop. The crowd watched. Phones recorded. No one moved. Because money made men into gods on this beach, and gods answered to no one. But they made one fatal mistake. They didn't notice the maintenance worker in the faded Navy uniform watching from 30 feet away. They didn't know that Ryan Mitchell had spent 12 years putting down monsters far more dangerous than spoiled billionaires. And when he started walking toward them, justice stopped being something money could buy. Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from in the comments below. And if this story moves your heart, please subscribe and stay with us until the very end. Now let's begin. The puppy was the first to cross. Ryan Mitchell saw it happen from beneath the sun-bleached canopy where he was replacing a rusted bolt. A flash of sable-brown fur legs, still too long for its body, darting across the invisible line that separated the VIP section from the public beach. The line wasn't marked. It didn't need to be. Everyone who worked here knew where privilege ended and poverty began. The staff knew. The vendors knew. The girl chasing after the puppy definitely knew. Ryan straightened slowly, his hands still gripping the wrench. At 35, he moved with an economy that came from years of training, no wasted motion, no unnecessary sound. His dark brown hair was cut short military style, a habit he couldn't break. The Navy working uniform he wore was faded from countless washes, the digital camouflage pattern of greens and browns, marking him as what he appeared to be, just another worker invisible to the people who mattered. Duke lifted his head from where he lay in the shade. The German Shepherd was 6 years old, his black and tan coat thick, despite the Florida heat muzzle starting to gray. His amber eyes tracked the same scene Ryan was watching, ears rotating forward. "Easy, boy," Ryan murmured. But his own muscles had already tensed. The girl couldn't have been more than 22, thin in a way that spoke of missed meals rather than diets. Her chestnut hair hung in a long braid down her back, and her skin had the deep tan of someone who spent every day under the sun. She carried a wooden crate, shell bracelets, cold drinks, the kind of things tourists bought and forgot. Her name was Lily. Ryan had heard it once from a lifeguard. Lily Santos. She came to the beach every day, sold what she could, and went home to something Ryan suspected was barely a home at all. Right now, Lily was running. "Coco!" She called, her voice high with panic. "Coco, come back!" The puppy didn't listen. 8 months old and still convinced the world was a game, he bounded toward the smell of food drifting from the VIP area. Ryan watched the security guards notice. Watched their postures shift from bored to alert, watched them start moving toward the girl like sharks scenting blood. He should stay out of it. That was what the smart play was. Keep his head down, do his job, collect his paycheck. Don't make waves. Ryan had spent 3 years making no waves. 3 years since the Navy had discarded him like defective equipment. 3 years of drifting from town to town, job to job, trying to forget the faces of the 7 men he had watched die in a valley in Afghanistan, while command pretended they didn't exist. He had gotten good at staying invisible. But then the screaming started. Lily had almost reached her puppy when the men intercepted her. 2 security guards in black polo shirts, their muscles the kind that came from gyms rather than combat. They grabbed her arms, one on each side, and yanked her backward so hard her crate flew from her hands. Bracelets scattered across the sand. Drinks spilled. Everything she had to sell, everything she had worked for that day, lay destroyed at her feet. "No." Lily struggled, her bare feet digging into the sand. "Please, I just need to get my dog." "No vendors in the VIP section?" one guard said. His voice was bored, routine. "You know the rules." "I wasn't, he just ran in. Please just let me get him. Should have kept him on a leash." "I can't afford, please." The crowd in the VIP area had noticed now. Heads turned. Conversations paused. Phones emerged from designer bags and expensive pockets. And then Brandon Ashworth appeared. Ryan recognized him immediately. Everyone who worked at Coral Bay Resort knew Brandon Ashworth III, 26 years old, heir to a fortune built on hotels and real estate, son of Harrison Ashworth. The man who owned not just this resort, but half the coastline. Brandon walked like someone who had never been told no. His blonde hair was artfully styled, his jaw clean-shaven, his blue eyes bright with the peculiar excitement of a child about to pull wings off a fly. He wore linen pants that cost more than Ryan's truck, and a smile that had never faced consequences. "What do we have here?" Brandon's voice carried across the sand, amused, theatrical, playing to his audience. The crowd shifted closer. More phones came out. Lily had gone still in the guard's grip. Her eyes were fixed on Brandon with the terrified recognition of prey spotting a predator. "Sir," one guard said, "just a vendor. She'll be removed." "No, no." Brandon waved a hand. "I want to see this." He walked toward where Coco had stopped the puppy, finally sensing danger, his tail tucking between his legs. The dog tried to back away, but he was too slow. Brandon's foot connected with the puppy's ribs. The yelp cut through the air like a knife. "No!" Lily screamed. She thrashed against the guards, but they held her tight. "Stop it! Please stop!" Brandon laughed. He actually laughed. And then he kicked again. Ryan was moving before he made the conscious decision to move. His boots hit the sand with steady purpose. Duke rose and followed a shadow at his heels. 30 feet, 20 feet, 10. The crowd parted around him without seeming to realize they were doing it. There was something in the way Ryan walked, something that made people step aside without knowing why. Brandon drew back his foot for a third kick. Ryan's hand closed around his wrist. "That's enough." The words were quiet, almost conversational, but something in Ryan's tone made the entire VIP section go silent. Brandon spun his face, contorting with outrage. "What the hell do you think you're—" He stopped. Ryan stood 6 feet tall, but it wasn't his height that made Brandon pause. It was his eyes. Gray-green and absolutely flat, like the surface of a frozen lake. Eyes that had seen things Brandon Ashworth couldn't imagine in his worst nightmares. "Let her go," Ryan said, still quiet, still calm. The guards exchanged uncertain glances. They were hired to handle drunk tourists and petty theft, not whatever this was. "Do you know who I am?" Brandon's voice pitched higher. "Do you have any idea who my father is? I know exactly who you are." Ryan released Brandon's wrist and stepped back, placing himself between the rich heir and the injured puppy. "And I don't care." Duke positioned himself beside Ryan, his posture alert but controlled. A low growl rumbled in his chest. Not aggressive, not yet. A warning. "You're fired," Brandon spat. "You're done. I'll make sure you never work anywhere on this coast again." "Fine." Ryan's expression didn't change. "Now, let the girl go." "She's trespassing. Her mutt violated the VIP area. Her dog crossed an imaginary line chasing a smell. Your response was to assault an animal and restrain a woman who weighs maybe 100 pounds. Ryan's voice dropped lower. "That's not enforcement. That's entertainment. And it's over." Brandon's face had gone red. His hands were shaking not with fear, Ryan noted, but with rage. The rage of someone who had never been contradicted. "You have no idea what you've just done." "I've done the right thing." Ryan held his gaze. "That's something you wouldn't recognize." For a long moment, no one moved. The phones kept recording. The crowd kept watching. The waves kept rolling in, indifferent to human drama. Then Brandon smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "Fine." He stepped back, adjusting his shirt as if Ryan had wrinkled it. "Have it your way. Take your charity case and get out of my sight." He turned to the guards. "Let her go, for now." The guards released Lily. She stumbled forward, nearly falling, and scrambled to where Coco lay whimpering on the sand. "Baby!" she sobbed, gathering the puppy in her arms. "Oh God, baby, I'm so sorry." Ryan knelt beside her, one hand hovering near the dog, assessing. Coco's breathing was shallow. His small body trembled. There was blood in the sand beneath him. He needs a vet, Ryan said. Now. Lily looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. I can't afford. I'll take care of it. Why? The word broke on a sob. You don't even know me. Ryan didn't answer. He scooped up the injured puppy as carefully as if he were handling unexploded ordnance and stood. Can you walk? Lily nodded, struggling to her feet. Then follow me. He walked past Brandon, past the guards, past the crowd, with their phones still recording. He didn't look back. Duke walked at his side, and Lily followed close behind, clutching her empty hands to her chest. Behind them, Brandon Ashworth watched with eyes that promised this wasn't over. The veterinary clinic was 20 minutes away. Ryan drove with Coco wrapped in his jacket on the passenger seat, Lily pressed into the corner of the cab, like she was trying to make herself smaller. Duke sat in the truck bed, ears flat against his head, watching the road disappear behind them. What's your name? Lily asked. Her voice was hoarse from crying. Ryan Mitchell. Why did you help me? She wiped her face with the back of her hand. Nobody ever helps. Nobody ever. She couldn't finish. Because it was right. That's not a reason. People don't do things just because they're right. There's always something. Then maybe I'm not most people. Lily fell silent. She stared at the injured puppy, at the blood-staining Ryan's jacket, at the man she didn't know who had just destroyed his life for her. He'll kill him, she whispered. Coco. He'll find a way. Brandon Ashworth doesn't let people get away with embarrassing him. His father? I know about his father. Then you know they own everything. The police, the judges, the whole town. Her voice cracked. Why would you throw everything away for a stranger? Ryan was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was distant. 3 years ago, I watched 7 men die because someone decided they weren't worth saving. Command pulled our support, left us in a valley surrounded by enemies. His hands tightened on the wheel. I was the only one who made it out. And when I got home, they told me it never happened. Discharged me to cover up their failure. Made me the scapegoat for their sins. Lily said nothing. She barely breathed. I've spent 3 years running from that, Ryan continued. 3 years trying to forget their faces. But I can't. And I've learned something in all that time. He glanced at her. You can't run from what's right. It finds you. And when it does, you have to choose, turn your back or stand. And you chose to stand, for me, for a dog, for what's right. Ryan turned back to the road. That's all any of us can do. The clinic was a small building on the edge of town. Dr. Ellen Hayes met them at the door, a woman in her 50s with silver-streaked hair and the efficient manner of someone who had seen every kind of cruelty animals could suffer. What happened? She asked, taking Coco from Ryan's arms. Kicked, multiple times, by a grown man. Dr. Hayes' expression hardened. Bring him in, now. She disappeared into the back. Ryan and Lily followed as far as the waiting room, then stopped. Duke lay down at Ryan's feet, his chin on his paws, watching the door where Coco had gone. Lily paced, her arms wrapped around herself. He's 8 months old, she said. I found him behind a dumpster when he was 6 weeks. Someone had thrown him away. She laughed bitterly. Like trash. Like he was nothing. He's not nothing. No, he's all I have. She stopped pacing and looked at Ryan. My mother died when I was 18. My father left before that. I have a brother, Miguel. He's 15. He has a heart condition. Needs surgery we can't afford. She pressed her hands to her face. I sell bracelets on the beach to pay for his medicine. 50 cents profit on each one. Do you know how many bracelets that is? How many days? Ryan didn't answer. He didn't need to. And now this. Lily's voice broke. Now I've made an enemy of the most powerful family in Florida. And for what? For a dog. For love. She looked at him sharply. You love that dog, Ryan said simply. That's not weakness. That's the only thing worth fighting for. The door opened. Dr. Hayes emerged, pulling off her gloves. Lily rushed forward. Is he He's alive. The vet held up a hand. But it's serious. 3 broken ribs, internal bleeding. I've stabilized him, but he needs surgery. Tonight. How much? The pause was answer enough. With surgery, medication, recovery care? Dr. Hayes sighed. Around $3,000. Lily made a sound like she'd been punched. I have $40, she whispered. $40 and some shell bracelets that got destroyed on a beach. Ryan reached into his pocket. He pulled out his wallet, counted the bills inside. I have $2,800. He held it out to Dr. Hayes. Take it. Ryan, no. Lily grabbed his arm. That's everything. It's money. He placed the bills in Dr. Hayes's hand. It doesn't mean anything if it doesn't help. Doctor. Hayes looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. I'll cover the rest. Consider it professional courtesy. She turned toward the door. I'll start the surgery now. It'll be a few hours. You should get some rest. She disappeared into the back. Lily stood frozen, staring at the door. You just gave away everything you have, she said. For a dog you don't know. For a person you just met. Yeah. Why? Ryan thought about the question. About 7 men who had died because no one thought they were worth saving. About 3 years of running from ghosts. About a puppy bleeding in the sand, and a girl who had no one to fight for her. Because someone should have done it for me once, he said. And no one did. So I'll be that person. For as long as I can. Lily broke. The tears came silently, her shoulders shaking, her hands pressed against her face. Ryan didn't move to comfort her. He understood that some grief needed space. Duke rose and padded over to Lily. He pressed his head against her leg, a warm, solid presence in the midst of chaos. She sank down and wrapped her arms around the old German shepherd, burying her face in his fur. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you. Ryan said nothing. He sat down in the plastic chair and waited. Outside, the sun began to set. And somewhere across town, in a mansion overlooking the ocean, Brandon Ashworth was already making phone calls. The first call came 3 hours into surgery. Ryan's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered anyway. Mr. Mitchell? The voice was smooth, professional. A lawyer's voice. My name is Gregory Dawes. I represent the Ashworth family. I'm listening. I'll be brief. There's video of today's incident circulating online. My client is concerned about the optics. He should be concerned about the criminal charges. A pause. Mr. Mitchell, I'm authorized to offer you a substantial sum to resolve this matter quietly. $50,000 in exchange for your silence and your departure from Florida. Ryan almost laughed. No. I don't think you understand your position. I understand perfectly. Your client assaulted an animal and his security assaulted a woman. That's caught on video, and you're trying to make it go away. We're trying to reach a mutually beneficial... No. Ryan's voice hardened. There's nothing mutual about this. Tell your client that what he did was wrong. Tell him that money doesn't buy conscience. And tell him that if he comes near that girl or her dog again, I'll be waiting. He hung up. Lily was staring at him. They offered you money. $50,000. And you said no. It's not about money. Ryan pocketed his phone. It never was. The second call came an hour later. Different number, different voice, but the same message. Mr. Mitchell, this is Harrison Ashworth. Ryan's grip tightened on the phone. The father, the man who owned half of Florida. Your boy hurt an innocent animal, terrorized a young woman. My boy made an error in judgment. Boys do that. The voice was colder now. But you made a choice. A very public choice. I'd make it again. I'm sure you would. That's what concerns me. A pause. I know about you, Mr. Mitchell. I know about Afghanistan, about your discharge, about the 7 men you failed to save. The words hit like bullets. I know that you've spent 3 years running from that failure. Harrison continued. I know that you live in your truck, that you take odd jobs, that you have nothing and no one. Another pause. And I know that if I decide to destroy you, there's not a single person in this country who would notice or care. Ryan's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed even. You're probably right. But here's what you don't know about me. Enlighten me. I've already lost everything. My career, my brothers, my name. Ryan's voice dropped. You can't threaten a man who has nothing left to lose, and you can't scare someone who's already walked through hell. Silence on the other end. This isn't over, Mr. Mitchell. No, it's not. But it will be. And when it is, your son will answer for what he did. I promise you that. The line went dead. Ryan sat in the silence, his heart pounding, his hands steady. The door opened. Dr. Hayes appeared, exhaustion lining her face. He made it, she said. The surgery was successful. He'll need weeks of recovery, but he's going to live. Lily burst into tears again, relief this time, pure and overwhelming. Ryan closed his eyes and breathed. One battle won, but the war was just beginning. It was past midnight when they left the clinic. Coco was sleeping sedated and bandaged, but alive. Dr. Hayes had agreed to keep him overnight to monitor his recovery. I'll come back tomorrow, Lily said. First thing. You'll need a place to stay. Ryan opened the passenger door of his truck. It's not safe to go home. Ashworth knows who you are. I don't have anywhere else. Then stay with me. He saw her expression and held up a hand. I sleep in the truck bed. You can have the cab. It's not comfortable, but it's safe. Lily hesitated. Everything she had been taught screamed at her not to trust strange men, not to accept help, not to be vulnerable. But this man had just given away everything he had for her dog. Okay, she said quietly. Okay. They drove to a rest stop on the edge of town. Ryan parked under a light where they could see anyone approaching. Try to sleep, he said. Tomorrow, we figure out next steps. What next steps? They own everything. The police, the courts? Not everything. Ryan climbed out of the cab. There's always someone they don't own. We just have to find them. He settled into the truck bed, Duke curling up beside him. The night was warm, the stars bright, the ocean a distant whisper. Lily's voice drifted out through the open window. Ryan? Yeah. What you said earlier. About the 7 men. About Afghanistan. A pause. What really happened? Ryan stared at the stars for a long moment. We were on a mission, deep behind enemy lines. Intelligence said the area was clear. Intelligence was wrong. His voice was distant. We got ambushed, surrounded. I called for extraction. Command said no, said the political cost was too high, said we weren't worth the risk. Lily said nothing. They left us there. For 2 days we fought. For 2 days I watched my brothers die one by one, and when I finally made it out, they told me it never happened, classified everything, discharged me for conduct unbecoming to make sure I'd never talk. But you're talking now. Because you asked. Ryan closed his eyes. And because I'm tired of carrying it alone. Silence stretched between them. Thank you, Lily said finally, for trusting me with that. Get some sleep. You too. But Ryan didn't sleep. He lay watching the stars, Duke's warmth against his side, and thought about the war that was coming. The Ashworths had money, power, connections. Ryan had nothing. Nothing except the truth. And the willingness to fight for it. Tomorrow he would find out if that was enough. The first attack came at dawn. Ryan woke to Duke's growl, the dog's body tensing against his side. He was on his feet before his eyes were fully open, scanning the area. 2 black SUVs were pulling into the rest stop, moving slowly, deliberately. Lily. Ryan's voice was sharp. Get down, now. She scrambled out of the cab, ducking low. What's happening? Company. The SUVs stopped. Doors opened. 6 men emerged, all wearing dark clothes, all moving with the coordinated precision of professionals. Not cops, not lawyers, private security. The kind billionaires hired when they wanted problems to disappear. Mr. Mitchell. The lead man was big, shaved head, military bearing. Mr. Ashworth would like another word. He can talk to my lawyer. You don't have a lawyer. The man smiled. You don't have anything, which makes this simple. Simple how? You walk away, right now. You leave Florida and never come back. The girl stays. Ryan stepped forward, putting himself between the men and Lily. No. That wasn't a request. And that wasn't an answer. Ryan's voice was flat. You want her, you go through me. The lead man studied him for a moment. Then he laughed. Mr. Ashworth said you might be difficult, said you were some kind of soldier once. He cracked his knuckles. I was a soldier too. Marine Corps, 2 tours in Iraq. So don't think your Navy training impresses me. I'm not trying to impress you. Then what are you trying to do? Ryan met his gaze. I'm giving you one chance to walk away. The man's smile faded. Wrong answer. He swung. Ryan moved. 3 years of anger, 3 years of grief, 3 years of running, all of it channeled into motion. He blocked the first punch, redirected the second, and drove his elbow into the man's solar plexus. The Marine doubled over. The others rushed forward. Duke exploded into motion, 70 pounds of muscle and fury. He hit the nearest man in the chest, driving him backward, teeth bared. Ryan fought like he was back in the valley. No thought, no fear, just movement and impact and survival. One man went down with a broken nose. Another crumpled from a knee to the groin. A third tried to draw a weapon, but Ryan was faster, stripping the gun from his hand and throwing it into the darkness. 60 seconds. 6 men. All of them on the ground. Ryan stood over the lead man, breathing hard but controlled. Tell Ashworth something, he said. Tell him I've already been through hell. Tell him I've already lost everything. Tell him that if he wants to come for me, he'd better bring more than hired thugs and empty threats. He leaned down. And tell him that if he touches that girl or her dog again, I'll burn his entire empire to the ground. The man stared up at him with something new in his eyes. Fear. Who are you? He whispered. Ryan straightened. I'm the man who's going to destroy him. He turned and walked back to the truck. Lily, get in. We're leaving. She climbed into the cab, her face pale, but her eyes bright. Where are we going? Ryan started the engine. To find the people who can help us take down the Ashworths. The truck pulled out of the rest stop, leaving 6 groaning men behind. And somewhere in the darkness, watching from a distance, a woman in a sedan made a phone call. Detective Vega, you're going to want to see this. I think we finally found someone who can break the Ashworth case. On the other end, a voice answered. Tell me everything. The sedan followed them for 3 miles before flashing its headlights. Ryan watched it in his rearview mirror, his grip tightening on the wheel. Duke sat alert in the truck bed, ears forward, tracking the vehicle behind them. Someone's following us, Lily said, her voice tight with fresh fear. I know. More of Ashworth's people. Don't think so. Ryan pulled onto a side road and stopped. Stay in the truck. He climbed out, positioning himself by the driver's door, ready to move. The sedan pulled up behind them and stopped. The engine died. A woman emerged. She was in her early 40s, with dark hair pulled back from a face carved by years of fighting battles most people never saw. Cuban heritage, Ryan guessed. She wore plain clothes, but everything about her posture screamed cop. Ryan Mitchell, she said. Not a question. Who's asking? Detective Maria Vega, Coral Bay Police Department. She held up her badge, let him see it clearly. I'm not here to arrest you. Then why are you here? Maria stopped 10 feet away, close enough to talk, far enough to show she wasn't a threat. Because I've been trying to take down the Ashworth family for 2 years, and in one night you did more damage to them than I've managed in all that time. Ryan said nothing. He waited. The video from the beach is everywhere. Maria continued. 3 million views and climbing. Brandon Ashworth kicking a dog while security holds down a helpless woman. And then some guy in a Navy uniform steps in and tells the richest family in Florida to go to hell. She smiled grimly. You're either the bravest man I've ever met or the dumbest. Maybe both. Maybe. She stepped closer. But here's the thing. I need someone like you. Someone the Ashworths can't buy, can't scare, can't control. Her eyes held his. And you need someone like me. Someone who knows where the bodies are buried. What bodies? Maria's expression darkened. 3 years ago, a waitress in Vegas. Brandon beat her so badly she was in the hospital for 2 months. His father paid her $500,000 to keep quiet. Ryan's jaw tightened. 2 years ago, a college student. She reported Brandon for sexual assault. The case was dropped for lack of evidence. Evidence that mysteriously disappeared from the police lockup. Keep going. 6 months ago, a drunk driving accident. Brandon ran a red light at 80 miles an hour. A 32-year-old father of 2 died at the scene. The investigation is still ongoing. Maria's voice hardened. Which means it's being buried, just like everything else. Lily had climbed out of the truck. She stood beside Ryan, her arms wrapped around herself. He killed someone, she whispered. He's killed multiple someones, Maria replied. But I've never been able to prove it. Every time I get close, witnesses disappear. Evidence vanishes. Judges suddenly remember they owe Harrison Ashworth favors. She looked at Ryan. But you're different. Different how? You're not from here. You don't owe them anything. You don't have anything they can take. She paused. And from what I saw in that video, you're not afraid of them. I'm not afraid of anything anymore. That's what I was hoping you'd say. Maria reached into her jacket and pulled out a card. I can't officially work with you. I'm already on thin ice with my department. But unofficially. She handed him the card. I can point you in the right direction. Help you find people who might talk. Give you information the Ashworths don't want you to have. Ryan looked at the card. Plain white, just a phone number. Why? He asked. Why risk your career for this? Maria's face changed. Something old and painful moved behind her eyes. Because the waitress in Vegas, the one Brandon beat half to death. Her voice cracked. She was my sister. Silence hung between them. She never recovered, Maria continued. Not really. She can't work. Can't sleep without nightmares. Can barely leave her apartment. She swallowed hard. And Brandon Ashworth is still out there. Still hurting people. Still getting away with it. Ryan pocketed the card. Not anymore. Maria nodded. I'll be in touch. She walked back to her sedan, climbed in, and drove away. Lily stared after her. Can we trust her? We don't have a choice. Ryan opened the truck door. Get in. We need to find somewhere safe to plan our next move. They drove for an hour before Ryan found what he was looking for. A motel on the outskirts of town. Old, forgotten. The kind of place that didn't ask questions and didn't remember faces. He paid cash for a room, led Lily inside. Duke padded in behind them and immediately began patrolling the perimeter, nose to the floor. Get some rest, Ryan said. I need to make some calls. Calls to who? People I used to know. He pulled out his phone. People who might be able to help. Lily sat on the edge of the bed, exhaustion finally catching up with her. Ryan. Yeah. My brother, Miguel. He's alone at home. If the Ashworths find out about him... Ryan's stomach dropped. He hadn't thought about that. Where does he live? Lily gave him the address. Ryan memorized it. I'll take care of it. How? I know someone. He hesitated. At least I used to. He stepped outside and dialed a number he hadn't called in 3 years. It rang 4 times before someone answered. Who is this? The voice was gruff, suspicious. It's Mitchell. Ryan Mitchell. Silence. Then, Jesus Christ. I thought you were dead. Not yet. Ryan leaned against the truck. I need a favor, Sergeant. What kind of favor? There's a kid, 15 years old, bad heart. He's alone and some very dangerous people might be coming for him. I need someone to watch over him until I can figure this out. You're in trouble. The worst kind. A long pause. Where's the kid? Ryan gave him the address. I'll send someone I trust. The voice softened slightly. Mitchell, what happened to you? After the discharge, you just vanished. I had to. We tried to find you. The guys who were left. We wanted you to know. We never believed what they said about you. None of us did. Ryan's throat tightened. I appreciate that. Whatever you're into now, you need help, you call me. Understand? I understand. Take care of yourself, Mitchell, and take care of that kid. The line went dead. Ryan stood in the darkness for a long moment, breathing slowly, pushing down the emotions that threatened to surface. Then he went back inside. Lily was asleep, curled on the bed like a child. Duke lay beside the door, watchful. Ryan sat in the chair by the window and waited for dawn. The first call from Maria came at 7 a.m. I've got something, she said without preamble. Carlos Mendez used to work at the resort. He was fired 6 months ago for reporting Brandon for harassment. He has video of another incident. Brandon attacking a female employee. Where can I find him? He's scared, living in a trailer park outside town. I'll text you the address. A pause. Be careful. Ashworth has people watching him. I'll handle it. The second call came 30 minutes later. Different number. Unknown caller. Ryan answered. Who is this, Mr. Mitchell? The voice was smooth, cultured. Harrison Ashworth. I see you survived your encounter with my associates. They need more training. A cold laugh. Perhaps, but that's not why I'm calling. Then why are you calling? To make you a new offer. $1 million. Cash. All you have to do is walk away. Leave Florida. Forget this ever happened. Ryan felt something cold settle in his chest. And the girl, she's no longer your concern. What does that mean? It means that what happens to her is between my son and her. Family business, you might say. A pause. She embarrassed my boy, Mr. Mitchell, made him look weak in front of his friends, in front of the whole internet. That can't go unanswered. Ryan's hand tightened on the phone. If you touch her, you'll what? Fight my security. You got lucky once. You won't get lucky again. Harrison's voice hardened. Take the money, Mr. Mitchell. Live a comfortable life somewhere far from here. It's more than you deserve. No. Excuse me. I said no. Ryan's voice was flat. Your son hurt an innocent animal, terrorized an innocent woman. And from what I'm learning, this isn't the first time. Not by a long shot. What you're learning is none of your concern. I'm making it my concern. Ryan stood pacing the small room. You want to come for me? Fine. I've got nothing to lose. But that girl is under my protection now, and so is everyone else your family has hurt. You're making a mistake. No. You're making a mistake. You're assuming that because you have money and power, you can do whatever you want. But here's what you don't understand. Ryan's voice dropped to a growl. I've spent 3 years with nothing. No home, no career, no family, nothing but my dog and my conscience. And a man with nothing to lose is the most dangerous thing in the world. You're threatening me. I'm promising you. I'm going to find every person you've hurt. I'm going to gather every piece of evidence you've buried. And when I'm done, I'm going to drag your whole family into the light. Your son will go to prison. Your empire will crumble. And you'll spend the rest of your life wondering how a homeless veteran in a beat-up truck destroyed everything you built. Silence on the other end. You've just made the worst decision of your life, Harrison said finally. Maybe, but I've made peace with it. Ryan hung up. Lily was awake, sitting up in bed, her eyes wide. What just happened? Harrison Ashworth tried to buy me off. I said no. How much did he offer? $1 million. Lily's face went pale. And you turned it down for me. For what's right. Ryan grabbed his jacket. Get dressed. We have work to do. Carlos Mendez lived in a trailer at the end of a dirt road. Ryan parked 50 yards away and studied the area. Two men sat in a black SUV near the entrance to the trailer park. Ashworth's watchers. Stay here, he told Lily. Keep Duke with you. What are you going to do? Have a conversation. He got out and walked toward the trailer, taking a roundabout route that kept him out of the watcher's line of sight. Years of training kicked in automatically. Move slowly. Stay low. Use cover. He reached the trailer without being seen and knocked on the door. Go away. A voice from inside, high with fear. Mr. Mendez, my name is Ryan Mitchell. I'm not with Ashworth. How do I know that? Because if I was, I wouldn't be knocking. A long pause. Then the door cracked open. A face appeared. Late 20s. Hispanic eyes red from lack of sleep. What do you want? To talk. About what Brandon Ashworth did, and about the video you have. Carlos's face went even paler. How do you know about that? Detective Vega told me. Maria? Something shifted in his expression. She's still trying. She never stopped. Ryan kept his voice calm. I know you're scared. I know they're watching you. But I also know you kept that video for a reason. Because you knew someday someone would come asking. Carlos stared at him. Then slowly he opened the door wider. Come in, quick, before they see you. Ball. The trailer was small, cluttered, smelling of stale coffee and fear. Carlos sat on a torn couch, his hands shaking. I worked at the resort for 3 years, he said. Good job, good pay. Then Brandon. He noticed one of the housekeepers, Maria Elena, 19 years old, sweet girl, worked hard. What happened? He started pursuing her, following her around, making comments. She tried to ignore it, but he wouldn't stop. Carlos's voice cracked. One night I was working late. I heard screaming from the supply closet. I went to check and... He pressed his hand to his mouth. He had her pinned against the wall. Her uniform was torn. She was begging him to stop. Ryan felt his jaw tighten until it hurt. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Brandon saw me. He let her go, but he smiled. Like it was funny. Like I had caught him in a prank. Carlos shook his head. He said if I showed that video to anyone, he'd have me deported. He didn't know I was born in Miami. He just assumed. Where's Maria Elena now? Gone. Her family moved to Texas. She couldn't stay here anymore. And the video? Carlos reached under the couch and pulled out an old phone. I kept it. I don't know why. Maybe because I knew someday. He handed it to Ryan. It's all there. Everything. Ryan watched the video. 60 seconds of horror. Brandon Ashworth's face clear as day. Maria Elena's screams unmistakable. This is enough to charge him, Ryan said. No, it's not. Carlos's voice was bitter. I tried. 2 years ago I went to the police. They said the video was inconclusive, said it could be role-playing, said without Maria Elena's testimony they couldn't do anything. What about now? Now. Carlos laughed humorlessly. Now I'm just a disgruntled former employee with a grudge. That's what they'll say. That's what they always say. Ryan pocketed the phone. Maybe, but things are different now. How? Because now you're not alone. Ryan stood. There are others, other victims, other witnesses, and there's me. Who are you? Someone who doesn't give up. Ryan walked to the door. Stay hidden. Don't answer your phone unless it's me or Detective Vega. And be ready. Ready for what? To finally tell the truth. Ryan slipped out of the trailer and made his way back to the truck. Lily was waiting Duke alert beside her. Well, Ryan climbed in and started the engine. We've got another piece of the puzzle. Now we need more. They drove. The next stop was Dr. Hayes's clinic. The vet was waiting for them, her face grim. "Coco's recovering well," she said. "But that's not why you're here." "No." Ryan followed her into her office. "I need your medical records, documentation of Coco's injuries, photos, x-rays, everything." "Why?" "Because it's evidence. Evidence of what Brandon Ashworth did, Doctor." Hayes studied him for a long moment. Then she opened a drawer and pulled out a thick file. "I've documented everything. Every fracture, every internal injury, every sign of deliberate trauma." She handed him the file. "I've been doing this for 30 years, Mr. Mitchell. I've seen accidents. I've seen abuse. This was abuse. Intentional, vicious abuse." "Will you testify to that in court?" She hesitated. "Yes." "The Ashworths have influence. If I speak against them, you might lose business. You might face pressure. You might have to fight." Ryan met her eyes. "But if you don't speak, the next animal might not survive. The next victim might not have someone to rescue them." Dr. Hayes was quiet for a long time. "I became a vet because I couldn't stand to see innocent creatures suffer," she said finally. "I've spent my whole life trying to help the ones who couldn't help themselves." She straightened. "Yes, I'll testify." Ryan nodded. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." She walked him to the door. "The Ashworths have destroyed better people than me. We're going to need a lot more than my testimony to bring them down." "We're getting there." His phone buzzed. A text from Maria Vega. "Need to meet. Urgent. Alone." Ryan frowned. "Lily, stay here with Coco. I'll be back." "Where are you going?" "To see what's so urgent." The meeting place was a parking garage. Empty. Abandoned. Ryan arrived to find Maria pacing beside her car, her face tight with barely controlled rage. "What happened?" he asked. "They got to my boss." Her voice was shaking. "Chief Davis called me in this morning, said I'm suspended pending an investigation into my conduct." "What conduct?" "Unauthorized surveillance. Harassment of a prominent citizen. Take your pick." She slammed her fist against the car. 20 years on the force. Perfect record. And one phone call from Harrison Ashworth destroys it all. Ryan felt the anger building in his chest. "So that's it. You're done." "Officially, yes." Maria turned to face him. "Unofficially, I'm just getting started." "What do you mean?" "I've been gathering evidence for 2 years. Files the department doesn't know about. Interviews with witnesses who were too scared to go on record. Financial documents showing how the Ashworths have bribed half the officials in this county." She pulled a flash drive from her pocket. "Everything I have is on here. If it goes public, the Ashworths are finished." "Then why hasn't it gone public?" "Because I wanted to do this right. By the book. Through the system." Her voice hardened. "But the system is broken. The system is bought. And now I'm out of options." Ryan took the flash drive. "What do you want me to do with this?" "There's a journalist, Jessica Blair, works for the Miami Herald. She's been investigating the Ashworths for months, but she doesn't have enough to publish." Maria met his eyes. "Give her this. Give her everything we've got. Let her tell the story." "And you?" "I'll be here, in the shadows, helping however I can." She paused. "But Ryan, you need to know something." "What?" "They're not going to stop. The Ashworths. They're going to come at you with everything they have. Money, lawyers, threats, maybe worse." "I know." "Do you? Because what happened at that rest stop, that was just the beginning. Next time they'll send more men, better men, and they won't make the same mistakes." Ryan looked at the flash drive in his hand. "Neither will I." He turned to leave, but Maria's voice stopped him. "Mitchell." "Yeah." "My sister. The one Brandon hurt." Her voice cracked. "Her name is Sophia. She's 34 years old. She used to be a dancer. Used to light up every room she walked into." Tears glistened in her eyes. Now she's afraid of her own shadow. And it's because of him. Ryan said nothing. There was nothing to say. Destroy them, Maria whispered. For Sophia. For all the others. Burn it all down. I intend to. He walked back to his truck and drove away. But he didn't go back to the clinic. He went to find Jessica Blair. The Herald's office was downtown. Ryan walked in like he belonged there, Duke padding beside him. No one questioned a man in military uniform with a service dog. Jessica Blair was at her desk buried under papers and coffee cups. She was 30 years old, sharp-eyed with the hungry look of a journalist who hadn't given up on the truth. Jessica Blair. She looked up. Who's asking? Ryan Mitchell. He sat down across from her. I have something you want. And what's that? He placed the flash drive on her desk. Everything you need to destroy the Ashworth family. Jessica stared at the drive, then at Ryan, then at Duke. You're the guy from the video, the one who stood up to Brandon on the beach. That's me. You've got some serious balls, Mr. Mitchell. I've got something better. He pushed the drive toward her. I've got the truth. Jessica picked up the drive, turning it over in her hands. What's on here? 2 years of investigation by Detective Maria Vega, witness statements, financial records, evidence of bribery assault, and at least one vehicular homicide. Everything the Ashworths have buried, everything they thought no one would ever find. Jessica's eyes widened. How did you get this? Vega gave it to me. She's been suspended for getting too close to the truth. Her career is over. She's risking everything. Why? Because Brandon Ashworth beat her sister half to death 3 years ago, and got away with it. Jessica was quiet for a long moment. If I publish this, if even half of what you're saying is true, it's true, all of it, then the Ashworths will come for me too. They'll sue, they'll threaten, they'll try to destroy my career the way they destroyed Vega's. Probably. Ryan leaned forward. But here's the thing about the truth. Once it's out there, you can't bury it again. You can attack the messenger, you can discredit the sources, but the truth stays, and eventually, it wins. Jessica looked at him with new respect. You really believe that? I have to. Ryan stood. It's all I've got left. He walked toward the door, Duke following. Mitchell. He turned. Why are you doing this? Really, what's in it for you? Ryan thought about the question. About 7 dead brothers. About 3 years of running. About a puppy bleeding in the sand, and a girl with no one to fight for her. I used to be someone, he said quietly. Someone who mattered. Someone who made a difference. Then I lost everything, and I forgot who I was. He paused. This is me remembering. He walked out. Behind him, Jessica Blair inserted the flash drive into her computer and began to read. The call came 3 hours later. Ryan was back at the motel, Lily asleep again. Duke watching over her like a guardian angel. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered. Mr. Mitchell. Not Harrison's voice this time. Younger, angrier. Brandon Ashworth. I know what you're doing, Brandon snarled. I know about Vega. I know about the journalist. I know about everything. Good, then you know what's coming. You think you can destroy my family? You think some video and some old files are going to bring us down? Brandon laughed. My father has senators in his pocket, judges, police chiefs. We own this state. You own some people, Ryan replied calmly. Not everyone, and not me. You're nothing, a homeless vet with a dog and a death wish. By the time we're done with you, by the time you're done with me, you'll be in prison. Your father will be bankrupt, and your name will be synonymous with everything corrupt and rotten in this country. Silence. You don't know who you're dealing with. I know exactly who I'm dealing with. Ryan's voice hardened. A spoiled child who thinks money makes him untouchable. A coward who beats women and kicks dogs because he's too weak to face anyone his own size. He paused. I've killed men who were harder than you, Brandon. Men who knew how to fight. Men who didn't hide behind daddy's money. You're nothing. I'm going to make you regret this. You're going to try. The line went dead. Ryan set down the phone and looked at Duke. It's coming, boy. Whatever they're planning, it's coming soon. Duke's tail thumped once against the floor. Ryan sat back and waited. The storm was building, and he was ready to meet it. At midnight, his phone buzzed again. This time it was Maria. They've got Lily's brother. Ryan's blood went cold. What? Miguel, the kid with the heart condition. 2 men picked him up from his house an hour ago. My contact saw them take him. Ryan was already on his feet, grabbing his keys. Where? I don't know. They could be taking him to Ashworth's estate. They could be taking him anywhere. Find out. Ryan, I'm suspended. I don't have access to... I don't care. Find out where they're taking him, now. He hung up and shook Lily awake. What's happening? She asked groggily. They have Miguel. Lily's face went white. What? No. No, he was supposed to be safe. You said... I know what I said. Ryan's voice was tight. I was wrong. They got to him before my contact could. Lily was shaking. He's just a kid. He's sick. If they hurt him, they won't. How do you know? Ryan looked at her with eyes that had seen too much death. Because I won't let them. He opened the door. Stay here. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me. Where are you going? Ryan's hand rested on Duke's head. To get your brother back. Ryan drove through the darkness with murder in his heart. Duke sat rigid in the passenger seat, sensing his master's rage, his amber eyes fixed on the road ahead. The German shepherd hadn't made a sound since they left the motel, but his muscles were coiled tight, ready for whatever was coming. The phone buzzed. Maria. They're taking him to the old Ashworth warehouse on Harbor Road. It's been abandoned for years. Perfect place to hide someone. How many men? My contact said at least 6, maybe more. Armed? Assume yes. Ryan's grip tightened on the wheel. I'm 20 minutes out. Ryan, wait. You can't go in alone. These aren't the same amateurs from the rest stop. Harrison called in professionals, ex-military, the kind of men who don't make mistakes. Neither do I. This isn't Afghanistan. You don't have backup. You don't have weapons. You don't have... I have Duke, and I have nothing to lose. Ryan's voice was flat. That kid is 15 years old. He has a heart condition. If they hurt him, if they scare him badly enough, it could kill him. Maria was silent for a moment. There's another way. I can call FBI contacts, get federal involvement, do this properly. How long would that take? Hours, maybe days. Miguel doesn't have days. He might not have hours. Ryan turned onto Harbor Road. I'm going in. Then at least let me... No, you're suspended. If you show up at that warehouse, you'll lose everything. Your pension, your chance at redemption, everything. I don't care about... I do. Ryan's voice softened slightly. You've given me everything I need to take them down legally. The flash drive, the contacts, the truth. Now I need you to stay alive long enough to see it through. And if you don't come out of that warehouse, then make sure Jessica publishes everything. Make sure the world knows what the Ashworths did. Make sure they burn. He hung up before she could argue. The warehouse loomed ahead. Ryan killed his headlights and pulled off the road, parking behind a rusted shipping container. He sat in the darkness for a moment, breathing slowly, centering himself. This was what he had trained for. Years of preparation, countless missions. The ability to move through hostile territory like a ghost to neutralize threats before they knew he was there. But this was different. This wasn't a mission sanctioned by the United States Navy. This wasn't a team of brothers watching his back. This was one man, one dog, and a prayer. Ryan opened the door. Duke jumped out instantly, pressing against his leg. Listen to me, boy. Ryan knelt, looking into the dog's eyes. We're going in there to get a kid. 15 years old, sick, scared. You understand? Duke's ears perked forward. I need you sharp. I need you quiet. And when I give the signal, I need you to be the scariest thing those men have ever seen. Duke's tail wagged once. Ready. Good boy. They moved. Ryan had studied the warehouse layout on his phone during the drive. 2 entrances. Main door and front service entrance and back. The front would be guarded. The back might not be. He circled wide, staying in shadows, moving with the silent precision that had kept him alive through 3 combat tours. Duke matched his pace perfectly, a shadow within a shadow. The service entrance was unlocked. Too easy. Either they were confident or it was a trap. Ryan pushed the door open slowly, listening. Voices drifted from somewhere deeper in the building. Male. Rough. Bored. He slipped inside Duke at his heels. The interior was a maze of old machinery and abandoned crates. Perfect cover for an approach. Ryan moved from shadow to shadow, tracking the voices. Kid's freaking out. Keeps asking for his sister. Let him ask. Not like she's coming. What are we supposed to do with him anyway? The boss didn't say. Keep him breathing. That's all. He's leverage. Ryan felt his jaw tighten. Leverage. A sick 15-year-old boy reduced to a bargaining chip. He rounded a corner and saw them. 4 men stood around a makeshift holding area, a chain-link cage that had probably once held equipment. Inside the cage, huddled against the far wall, was Miguel Santos. The boy was small for his age, thin from years of illness, with the same chestnut hair as his sister. His face was pale, tear-streaked, his breathing rapid and shallow. Too rapid. Too shallow. Ryan recognized the signs. The stress was triggering something. A cardiac episode. If it escalated, the boy could go into arrest. No more time. Ryan stepped out of the shadows. Evening, gentlemen. 4 heads snapped toward him. 4 hands reached for weapons. I wouldn't. Ryan's voice was conversational. See, my dog here hasn't eaten today, and he gets cranky when he's hungry. Duke emerged from the darkness, a growl rumbling in his chest. In the dim light, with his hackles raised and his teeth bared, he looked less like a pet and more like something from a nightmare. One of the men laughed nervously. You're kidding, right? There's 4 of us, and 1 of you. I know. I almost feel bad for you. The first man drew his weapon. Ryan moved. He crossed the distance in 3 steps, grabbing the gun hand and twisting. Bones cracked. The man screamed and dropped. The second man swung a fist. Ryan ducked, drove an elbow into his solar plexus, and followed with a knee to the face as he doubled over. Duke launched at the third man, 70 pounds of fury hitting him square in the chest. They went down in a tangle of limbs and snarls. The fourth man managed to get his gun up. Ryan was faster. He grabbed a length of pipe from a nearby pile and threw it like a javelin. It caught the man in the shoulder, spinning him around. Before he could recover, Ryan was on him, 1 hand on the gun, the other driving into his throat. 4 men, 12 seconds, all down. Ryan stood over them, breathing hard but controlled. Duke patted back to his side, blood on his muzzle, not his own. Good boy. He moved to the cage. The lock was industrial heavy, but the chain link itself was rusted. Ryan grabbed the wire and pulled. His muscles screamed. The metal groaned. Then it gave way, tearing open a gap large enough to squeeze through. Miguel! The boy looked up, eyes wide with terror. My name is Ryan. Your sister sent me. Lily. The name came out as a sob. Is she okay? They said they were going to hurt her. She's fine. She's safe. Ryan knelt in front of the boy, keeping his voice calm. I need you to listen to me. Can you do that? Miguel nodded, his breathing still too fast. I know you're scared. I know your heart is racing. But I need you to slow down. Breathe with me. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Can you do that? I can't. Yes, you can. Ryan took the boy's hands. They were cold, trembling. You're stronger than you think, Miguel. Your sister told me about you, about how you fight every day just to stay alive. That takes more courage than anything I've ever done. Miguel's eyes locked onto his. Breathe with me. In, out, in, out. Slowly, painfully, the boy's breathing began to even out. That's it. You're doing great. Are you really going to get me out of here? I promise. The men. They're not going to hurt you. Not anymore. Not ever again. Miguel's face crumpled. I want my sister. I know, and I'm going to take you to her. Ryan helped the boy to his feet. Can you walk? I think so. Then let's go. They made it 3 steps before the lights came on. Blinding. Industrial floods illuminating the entire warehouse like noon on the surface of the sun. Ryan shielded his eyes, pulling Miguel behind him. Duke snarled, spinning to face the new threat. Impressive. The voice came from above, from a metal catwalk overlooking the warehouse floor. Brandon Ashworth stood there, flanked by 6 more men. These weren't the amateurs Ryan had just dismantled. These were professionals. Body armor, tactical weapons. The cold eyes of men who killed for money. I knew you'd come, Brandon said. He was smiling, enjoying himself. The noble Navy SEAL rushing to save the helpless child. It's almost poetic. Let us walk out of here. Ryan's voice was steady. This doesn't have to end badly. Oh, but it does. Brandon descended the stairs slowly, savoring the moment. See, you've caused me a lot of problems, Mr. Mitchell. The video, the journalist, the evidence you've been gathering. He reached the bottom and stopped 20 feet away. My father is furious. He's never been furious with me before, and that's your fault. Your father should be furious with you. You've hurt people, destroyed lives, killed. I've done what I wanted. Brandon's smile turned ugly. That's what power is, Mr. Mitchell. The freedom to do whatever you want without consequences. And tonight I'm going to do what I've wanted to do since you first stepped between me and that mud on the beach. He pulled out a gun. Not a threat. A promise. I'm going to kill you, slowly, and I'm going to make that kid watch. Miguel whimpered behind Ryan. Duke's growl deepened, and Ryan felt something shift inside him. 3 years of running, 3 years of hiding, 3 years of trying to forget who he was. It ended now. You want to kill me? Ryan's voice was quiet, almost gentle. Then come do it yourself. Stop hiding behind your men. Stop hiding behind your father's money. Face me, like a man. Brandon's smile flickered. Why would I do that when I have 6 professionals who... Because they're not going to help you. The words hung in the air. Brandon frowned. What? Look at them. Ryan nodded toward the 6 mercenaries. Really look. Do you see loyalty in their eyes? Dedication? Or do you see men calculating how much prison time they'll get for murdering a child? The mercenaries exchanged glances. Uncertainty crept into their postures. Your father hired them, Ryan continued. Your father pays them. But your father isn't here, is he? He's safe in his mansion while you do his dirty work. And when this goes wrong, and it will go wrong, who do you think he'll sacrifice to save himself? Brandon's face reddened. Shut up. You're the weak link, Brandon. You always have been. Your father knows it. Everyone knows it. The only one who doesn't know it is you. I said shut up. Brandon raised the gun, his hand shaking with rage. Ryan didn't move. Go ahead, pull the trigger. But ask yourself this. What happens after the journalist has everything? The evidence, the witnesses, the video of you kicking that dog while the whole world watched. Killing me won't make that go away. It'll just add murder to the list. I don't care. Yes, you do. Because deep down underneath all that entitlement and rage, you're scared. Ryan took a step forward. You've been scared your whole life. Scared that people would see through the money. Scared that they'd realize you're nothing special. Just a bully with a rich daddy. One more step and I'll... Ryan took another step. You're not going to shoot me, Brandon. Because shooting me would require courage. And you don't have any. Brandon's face twisted. His finger tightened on the trigger. And then Duke attacked. Not Brandon. The nearest mercenary. 70 pounds of muscle hit the man square in the chest, sending him crashing into two others. Chaos erupted. Shouts. Gunfire. The warehouse dissolved into bedlam. Ryan was already moving. He grabbed Miguel and dove behind a concrete pillar as bullets sparked off the floor around them. "Stay down." More gunfire, more screaming. Duke was a force of nature, keeping three men occupied too fast to hit, too relentless to ignore. Ryan spotted Brandon trying to flee up the stairs. No. He sprinted after him, leaving Miguel in cover. The boy would be safe. The mercenaries were too busy with Duke to care about a hostage. Brandon was halfway up the catwalk when Ryan caught him. He grabbed the younger man's ankle and yanked. Brandon came down hard, the gun skittering from his grasp. "No!" Brandon scrambled backward, terror finally replacing arrogance. "Wait! We can make a deal. My father has money." "Your father's money can't save you anymore." Ryan advanced slowly, deliberately. "Please, I'll leave the country. I'll never come back. You hurt an innocent girl. You terrorized her dog. You kidnapped her brother." Ryan's voice was ice. "And that's just what you did to Lily. What about the others? The waitress you beat. The student you assaulted. The man you killed." "That was an accident. I didn't mean." "You never mean it." Ryan grabbed Brandon by the collar and lifted him off his feet. "That's the problem with people like you. Nothing is ever your fault. Nothing is ever your responsibility. You just float through life breaking things, hurting people, and waiting for Daddy to clean up the mess." "Please." "I'm not going to kill you, Brandon." Ryan's face was inches from his. "I want to. God knows I want to. But I'm not going to give you the easy way out." He threw Brandon against the railing. The air crumpled, whimpering. "You're going to prison. You're going to stand trial for everything you've done. And you're going to spend the rest of your life knowing that the whole world saw who you really are. A coward who kicks dogs and hurts women because he's too pathetic to face anyone his own size." Brandon was crying now. Ugly, heaving sobs. Ryan felt nothing. "Freeze, FBI!" The shout came from below. Ryan looked down to see armed agents pouring through the warehouse doors, securing the scene, subduing the remaining mercenaries. Maria's federal contacts. She had made the call after all. Ryan raised his hands and stepped back from Brandon. "This one's all yours," he called down. "He's got a lot to answer for." An agent approached the catwalk stairs. "Mr. Mitchell." "That's me?" "Detective Vega sent us. Said you might need backup." The agent looked at the crying heap that was Brandon Ashworth. "Looks like you had it handled." "The kid, Miguel Santos. He needs medical attention." "Already on it. Paramedics are incoming." Ryan nodded. He walked back down the stairs, past the secured mercenaries, past the chaos to where Miguel sat huddled behind the concrete pillar. The boy looked up at him with wide eyes. "Is it over?" Ryan knelt beside him. "Yeah, kid, it's over." Miguel's face crumpled. He threw himself at Ryan, wrapping his thin arms around the man's neck, sobbing against his shoulder. Ryan held him. He didn't know what else to do. He just held on while the boy cried out years of fear and pain and loneliness. Duke padded over and pressed against them both, his warm body a comfort. When the paramedics arrived, they had to pry Miguel away. "You saved me," the boy whispered as they loaded him onto the stretcher. "Why?" Ryan thought about the question. About 7 dead brothers. About 3 years of emptiness. About a puppy bleeding in the sand, and a girl who had no one. "Because someone should have saved me once," he said. "And no one did. So I decided to be that person for others." Miguel held his gaze. "Will I see you again?" "Count on it." They wheeled him away. Ryan stood in the warehouse surrounded by federal agents, watching them drag Brandon Ashworth down the stairs in handcuffs. The air wasn't crying anymore. He was screaming. "My father will have your jobs, all of you. Do you know who we are? Do you know?" "We know exactly who you are," an agent said. "That's why you're under arrest." Ryan watched until they were gone. Then he pulled out his phone and called Lily. "Ryan?" Her voice was frantic. "What happened? Is Miguel?" "He's safe. He's on his way to the hospital." The FBI has him. Oh God. Oh, thank God. She was crying. And Brandon? In custody. And his father? Ryan paused. That's the next step. What do you mean? I mean the son is done, but the father is still out there, and as long as Harrison Ashworth is free, none of us are safe. What are you going to do? Ryan looked at Duke, who was watching him with steady amber eyes. Whatever it takes. He hung up and walked out of the warehouse. The night air was cool against his face. Stars wheeled overhead. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You've made a powerful enemy tonight. Mr. Mitchell. My son was foolish. I am not. This isn't over. It's just beginning. Ryan read the message twice. Then he typed his response. I'm counting on it. He pocketed the phone and walked to his truck, Duke at his side. Harrison Ashworth thought he was untouchable, thought money and power made him immune to consequences. He was wrong, and Ryan Mitchell was going to prove it. The hospital room was quiet, except for the steady beep of monitors. Ryan stood in the doorway watching Lily hold her brother's hand. Miguel was sleeping, his face peaceful for the first time since the ordeal began. The doctors said his heart had stabilized. No permanent damage. A miracle, they called it. Ryan called it luck. The kind that ran out if you pushed it too far. He keeps asking about you. Lily's voice was soft, barely above a whisper. Even in his sleep, he says the soldier over and over. I'm not a soldier anymore. You are to him. She looked up, her eyes red from crying, but filled with something else. Gratitude. Trust. You are to me. Ryan didn't know how to respond to that. He had spent 3 years avoiding connections, avoiding people who might matter. It was easier that way. Safer. But standing in that doorway looking at this broken family he had somehow become part of, he realized that safe wasn't the same as right. Brandon is in federal custody, he said. His arraignment is tomorrow. And his father? Still free. Ryan's jaw tightened. For now. Maria called me. She said Jessica Blair is ready to publish. Everything. The whole story. Good. Once it goes public, Harrison won't be able to bury it. Lily stood slowly, careful not to wake Miguel, and walked to Ryan. What happens after, when this is all over? I don't know. Will you leave? The question hung between them. Ryan thought about his truck, his dog, the endless roads he had traveled, trying to outrun his ghosts. I don't know that either. Lily reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were warm, calloused from years of hard work. Stay, please. Whatever comes next, I don't want to face it alone. Ryan looked at her hand in his, at the hope in her eyes, at the future she was offering. I'll stay, he said quietly. For now. It wasn't a promise, but it was a start. The phone call came at 3 a.m. Ryan was dozing in a chair outside Miguel's room. Duke curled at his feet when the buzzing pulled him awake. Unknown number, again. He answered. Mr. Mitchell. Harrison Ashworth's voice was different now, strained. The smooth confidence had cracked. We need to talk. I'm listening. Not on the phone, in person. My estate, 1 hour. Why would I come to you? Because I have something you want. A pause. Information. About your discharge. About what really happened in Afghanistan. Ryan's blood went cold. What do you know about that? More than you think. Come to my estate, alone, and I'll tell you everything. The line went dead. Ryan sat in the darkness, his heart pounding. 3 years. 3 years of searching for answers. 3 years of being told the mission never happened, that his brothers died for nothing, that he was the only one who remembered. And now Harrison Ashworth claimed to have the truth. It could be a trap. Probably was a trap. The smart play was to ignore it, to wait for the legal process to take its course, to let the evidence speak for itself. But the evidence couldn't tell him why 7 men had been abandoned. It couldn't tell him who had made that decision. It couldn't give him the closure he had been chasing for 1,000 sleepless nights. Ryan stood. Duke rose with him, instantly alert. Stay here, boy. Watch over them." The dog whined, reluctant. "I know, but this is something I have to do alone." He walked out of the hospital and into the night. The Ashworth estate was everything Ryan expected. Massive iron gates, security cameras, armed guards who watched his truck approach with professional suspicion. He stopped at the gate and waited. A voice crackled through the intercom. "Mr. Mitchell, you're expected. Drive through." The gates swung open. Ryan drove up a long driveway, lined with palm trees past manicured lawns and marble fountains, toward a mansion that could have housed 100 families. This was what money looked like. This was what power bought. Harrison Ashworth was waiting at the front door. He was older than Ryan expected. Late 60s, silver hair, a face carved by decades of ruthless ambition. He wore a silk robe over pajamas, as if Ryan's visit had interrupted his sleep. But his eyes were sharp, alert, the eyes of a predator. "Mr. Mitchell, thank you for coming." "Skip the pleasantries." Ryan climbed out of the truck. "You said you have information. Talk." Harrison smiled thinly. "Direct. I appreciate that." He gestured toward the open door. "Please, come inside. I'll stay out here." "As you wish." Harrison stepped onto the portico, his hands clasped behind his back. "You want to know about Afghanistan, about your team, about why they were abandoned?" "Yes." "The answer is simple." Harrison's smile widened. "Money." Ryan felt his fists clench. "Explain." "Your team was sent to secure a weapons cache. What you didn't know, what no one told you, was that those weapons had already been sold. To a private buyer, through intermediaries that included several high-ranking military officials and one very ambitious real estate developer." Ryan's stomach dropped. "You." "Me." Harrison said it without shame. "The deal was worth $200 million. Your team was going to disrupt it. So a decision was made. A decision to let 7 men die. A decision to protect an investment." Harrison shrugged. "It wasn't personal, Mr. Mitchell. It was business." Ryan took a step forward. Every muscle in his body screamed for violence, for justice, for revenge. "You killed my brothers, for money. I made a phone call. Others made the operational decisions." Harrison's eyes glittered. "But yes, if you want to trace it back to its source, the responsibility is mine." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I'm offering you a choice." Harrison reached into his robe and pulled out an envelope. Inside this envelope is $50 million in bearer bonds, untraceable, tax-free, enough to disappear forever, to live like a king for the rest of your life. He held it out. "Take it. Walk away. Forget everything you've learned. And I'll make sure the journalist never publishes. I'll make sure my son's charges are reduced. I'll make sure your name is cleared, your record expunged, your honor restored." Ryan stared at the envelope. $50 million. More money than he could spend in 10 lifetimes. Enough to buy anything. Everything. Except his brothers' lives. "You think you can buy me?" "I think everyone has a price." Harrison's voice hardened. "The question is whether you're smart enough to recognize the offer before it expires. And if I refuse, then you become a problem. And I've been solving problems for 40 years. Harrison's smile turned cold. "You've cost me my son, my reputation, my peace of mind. If you refuse this offer, I will dedicate what remains of my life to destroying you. Everyone you care about, everything you've built, I will burn it all to the ground and salt the earth where it stood." Ryan looked at the envelope, then at Harrison. Then at the mansion behind him, the monument to greed and corruption that had cost 7 good men their lives. "Keep your money." Harrison's eyes widened. "What?" "I said keep it." Ryan stepped closer, close enough to see the fear flicker behind the old man's mask. "You think I care about money, about comfort, about any of the things you've spent your life chasing? Everyone cares about. I cared about 7 men. 7 brothers who trusted me, who followed me into hell because they believed in something bigger than themselves." Ryan's voice dropped to a growl. "You took them from me. You took my purpose, my family, my reason for living. And now you think $50 million is going to make me walk away? Harrison took a step back. Be reasonable. I'm done being reasonable. Ryan grabbed the envelope and tore it in half. Here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow, Jessica Blair publishes everything. Every crime, every bribe, every body you've buried. The world is going to see who you really are. You can't. I already have. The evidence is already with the FBI. The witnesses are already protected. Your lawyers can't stop it. Your money can't bury it. It's over. Harrison's face had gone pale. For the first time he looked his age. Old, frightened, defeated. You're making a mistake. No, you made the mistake. Ryan turned toward his truck. 3 years ago, you decided 7 lives weren't worth $200 million. Tonight, you're going to learn what that decision really cost you. He climbed into the truck and started the engine. Mitchell, Harrison's voice cracked. This isn't finished. Ryan looked at him through the window. Yes, it is. He drove away without looking back. The story broke at 6 a.m. Jessica Blair's article hit the Miami Herald's website like a bomb. Within an hour, it was the most read piece in the paper's history. Within 2 hours, it was trending nationally. Within 3, the FBI announced they were opening a formal investigation into Harrison Ashworth and his associates. Ryan watched it unfold from Dr. Hayes' clinic where Coco was finally well enough to be discharged. Lily sat beside him, Miguel in a wheelchair, the 4 of them clustered around a small television. Developing story out of Florida this morning, the anchor said. Real estate mogul Harrison Ashworth is facing multiple federal charges following explosive revelations in the Miami Herald. The charges include bribery, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy in connection with the death of a veteran military team in Afghanistan 3 years ago. Miguel looked at Ryan. That's about you, isn't it, the military team? Ryan nodded slowly. They were your friends. They were my brothers. The boy was quiet for a moment. Then he reached out and took Ryan's hand. I'm sorry. Ryan looked at the small hand in his. At the boy who had almost died because of the Ashworth's greed. At the sister who had lost everything and still found the strength to keep fighting. Thank you. Dr. Hayes emerged from the back carrying Coco. The puppy's tail was wagging, his eyes bright. The bandages were gone, replaced by healthy pink skin and growing fur. He's all yours, she said, placing the dog in Lily's arms. Full recovery. He's a fighter, this one. Lily buried her face in Coco's fur, tears streaming down her cheeks. Thank you. Thank you so much. Don't thank me. Thank the man who paid for his care. Dr. Hayes looked at Ryan. And for the record, I'm glad you stayed. This town needs more people like you. Ryan's phone buzzed. A text from Maria. Ashworth's lawyers are trying to negotiate a deal. FBI isn't interested. Arraignment set for tomorrow. It's really happening. He typed back, will you be there? Her response came quickly. Wouldn't miss it for the world. The arraignment was standing room only. Media from across the country packed the courtroom. Cameras lined up outside. Protesters gathered on the steps, holding signs demanding justice. Ryan sat in the back duke at his feet, watching history unfold. Harrison Ashworth entered in handcuffs. His silk robe had been replaced by an orange jumpsuit. His silver hair was disheveled, his face hollow. He looked nothing like the predator who had threatened Ryan on his estate. He looked like what he was. A broken old man facing the end of everything. The charges were read: wire fraud, bribery, obstruction of justice, conspiracy to commit murder. Each count landed like a hammer blow, driving Harrison deeper into his chair. Bail was denied. The judge cited flight risk, the severity of the charges, the pattern of witness intimidation. Harrison would remain in federal custody until trial. As marshals led him away, his eyes found Ryan in the crowd. There was no anger in them. No threat. Just emptiness. Ryan held his gaze until the doors closed. Outside, Maria was waiting. How does it feel? She asked. I don't know. Ryan looked at the sky blue and clear. I thought I'd feel satisfied, triumphant, but I just feel empty, tired. He rubbed his face. I've been running on rage for 3 years. Now that it's over, I don't know what to do with myself. Maria smiled. Maybe it's time to stop running. That's what Lily said. Smart woman. Maria pulled out a flask and took a sip. My sister called me this morning. First time in 2 years. She heard about the arrest on the news. She's coming to Florida. Says she wants to testify. That's brave. That's closure. Maria offered him the flask. To justice. Ryan took it. To justice. They drank in silence. What happens to you now? Ryan asked. The department wants me back. Full reinstatement, back pay, a formal apology. She laughed bitterly. Funny how that works. Yesterday I was a troublemaker. Today I'm a hero. You always were. Maria looked at him with something like affection. Take care of yourself, Ryan Mitchell, and take care of that girl. She deserves some happiness after everything she's been through. So do you. Maybe. She pocketed the flask. But for now, I'll settle for watching Harrison Ashworth rot in prison. She walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Ryan stood on the courthouse steps, Duke at his side, and breathed. The call came that evening. Ryan was at Lily's apartment, a small place she had rented with the help of a victim's assistance fund. Coco was curled on the couch. Miguel was doing homework at the kitchen table. Duke lay in the corner watching everything with calm vigilance. It almost felt like a home. The phone buzzed. A number Ryan didn't recognize. He answered. Mr. Mitchell. The voice was official. Military. This is Colonel James Patterson, Department of Defense. Ryan straightened. Colonel. I'll be brief. In light of recent revelations, the Pentagon has reopened the investigation into Operation Crimson Valley. Your testimony, combined with the evidence uncovered by the FBI, has confirmed what you've been saying for 3 years. Ryan's throat tightened. And the Department of Defense formally acknowledges that your team was abandoned due to unauthorized intervention by parties seeking to protect illegal arms deals. The soldiers who died were heroes who deserved better than they received. Ryan closed his eyes. The faces of his brothers flickered through his mind. Jackson, Ramirez, Chen, Williams, Torres, Murphy, Kowalski. 7 men who had followed him into hell and never come out. What about my discharge? Vacated. Effective immediately. Your record has been expunged, your rank restored, and all benefits reinstated. A pause. Additionally, the 7 men who died in Crimson Valley will be posthumously awarded the Silver Star for valor. Their families have already been notified. Ryan couldn't speak. 3 years of fighting. 3 years of being called a liar, a coward, a disgrace. And now, finally, the truth. Mr. Mitchell, are you there? I'm here. There's one more thing. The President has requested a meeting. He wants to personally apologize for the failures that led to this tragedy. Would you be available next week? Ryan looked at Lily, who was watching him with concern. At Miguel, who had stopped doing homework to listen. At Duke, who had lifted his head, sensing his master's emotions. I'll be there. Excellent. My office will send the details. And Mr. Mitchell? Yes. On behalf of the United States Navy, thank you for your service. And thank you for never giving up. The line went dead. Ryan lowered the phone slowly. What is it? Lily asked. What happened? He looked at her. At this woman who had lost everything and found the courage to keep fighting. At this family that had somehow become his own. They believe me, he said. His voice broke on the words. After 3 years, they finally believe me. Lily crossed the room and wrapped her arms around him. I always believed you. Ryan held her. He held on like she was the only solid thing in a world that had been shifting under his feet for 3 years. It's over, he whispered. It's really over. No. Lily pulled back and looked into his eyes. It's not over. It's just beginning. She kissed him, gentle, tentative, a question as much as a statement. Ryan answered it. When they finally separated, Miguel was grinning from the kitchen table. "Does this mean you're staying?" the boy asked. Ryan looked at Lily, at the hope in her eyes, at the future she was offering. "Yeah, kid." He smiled, really smiled for the first time in 3 years. "I'm staying." Coco barked happily. Duke's tail thumped against the floor. And outside, the sun was setting on the old world and rising on the new. 6 months had passed since the world learned the truth about the Ashworth family. Ryan stood at the edge of the beach, where everything had begun, watching the sun climb over the horizon. Duke sat beside him, his graying muzzle lifted toward the salt breeze, amber eyes peaceful in a way they hadn't been for years. The VIP section was gone now. The invisible line that had once divided the rich from everyone else had been erased, replaced by open sand, where families from all walks of life spread their blankets and built their castles. The resort had new management, new policies, new hope. And Ryan Mitchell had a new life. "You're up early." He turned to find Lily walking toward him, 2 cups of coffee in her hands, Coco trotting at her heels. The puppy, not really a puppy anymore, had grown into a strong, healthy dog, his sable coat gleaming in the morning light. "Couldn't sleep," Ryan said, accepting the coffee. "Nervous?" "Maybe." Lily smiled. "You've faced down mercenaries, billionaires, and the entire federal justice system. But a ceremony makes you nervous. Different kind of battlefield." She laughed and linked her arm through his. "Come on, we have a big day ahead." They walked together along the shoreline, the 4 of them, 2 humans, 2 dogs, leaving footprints in the sand that the tide would eventually wash away. But some marks, Ryan had learned, were not so easily erased. The ceremony was held at the naval base in Jacksonville. Ryan wore his dress blues for the first time in 3 years. The uniform still fit, though he had lost weight since his discharge. Looking in the mirror that morning, he had barely recognized himself. Not because of the uniform, because of the peace in his eyes. The auditorium was packed. Military brass, government officials, media. And in the front row, the people who mattered most. Lily sat with Miguel, the boy's heart stronger now, after successful surgery paid for by the settlement from the civil case against the Ashworth estate. Dr. Hayes was there along with Carlos Mendez and his family. Jessica Blair sat with her notebook still chasing the next story. And Maria Vega, wearing her new captain's insignia, her sister Sophia beside her for the first time in 3 years. "Ladies and gentlemen, please rise." The room stood as a color guard marched to the front, flags held high. The national anthem played. Ryan felt his throat tighten. He had sung this song countless times in his career, but never like this. Never with his brothers watching from somewhere beyond. The Secretary of the Navy approached the podium. "We are gathered here today to right a terrible wrong. 3 years ago, 7 brave men were abandoned by those who should have protected them. Their mission was classified, their deaths covered up, their families told lies to protect the guilty." Ryan felt Lily's hand slip into his. "Today we honor those men. And we honor the one who survived. The one who never stopped fighting for the truth." The secretary turned to Ryan. "Petty Officer First Class Ryan Mitchell, please step forward." Ryan walked to the front of the auditorium, each step carrying the weight of 3 years of wandering. For extraordinary heroism in combat, for unwavering dedication to his fallen brothers, and for courage in the face of overwhelming opposition, the President of the United States has authorized the award of the Navy Cross to Petty Officer First Class Ryan Mitchell. The medal was pinned to his chest. Heavy, cold, meaningful. Additionally, by order of the Secretary of Defense, Petty Officer Mitchell's discharge has been fully vacated. His record stands as a testament to honor, integrity, and service. Applause filled the room. Ryan stood at attention, tears streaming down his face. He didn't wipe them away. Some tears were earned. After the ceremony came the hardest part. 7 families waited in a smaller room. 7 mothers, fathers, wives, children who had spent 3 years believing lies about the men they loved. Ryan faced them alone. "I should have died with them," he said, his voice breaking. "Every day I wish I had." A woman stepped forward. Jackson's mother, small gray-haired with eyes that had cried an ocean of tears. "My son wrote about you," she said. "In his letters. He said you were the best leader he ever served under. He said he'd follow you anywhere." "He did, and I led him to his death." "No." She took his hands. "You led him into battle. The men who abandoned him, they're the ones responsible. You brought them to justice. You gave my son his honor back." She pulled him into an embrace. One by one, the other families followed. Ramirez's father, who had spent 3 years being told his son died in a training accident. Chen's wife, who had been denied survivor benefits because the mission never happened. Williams's sister, who had written letters to every congressman trying to find the truth. Torres's mother, who had prayed every night for someone to tell her what really happened. Murphy's daughter, only 12 years old, who had grown up thinking her father was a coward. Kowalski's brother, a fellow veteran, who had known something was wrong from the start. They held Ryan. They thanked him. They wept with him. And when it was over, he felt something he hadn't felt in 3 years. Forgiveness. Not from them. From himself. The trials took another 6 months. Harrison Ashworth was convicted on 23 counts. Federal conspiracy, bribery, obstruction of justice, accessory to murder. The judge sentenced him to 45 years without possibility of parole. He would die in prison. Brandon Ashworth received 18 years for kidnapping, assault, and a litany of other charges that stretched back nearly a decade. The victims who had been silenced finally had their day in court. Maria's sister Sophia testified. The waitress from Vegas testified. The college student testified. One by one, they told their stories. One by one, the truth set them free. The Ashworth empire crumbled. Assets were seized. Properties were sold. The fortune that had been built on corruption and cruelty was distributed among the victims and charitable causes. The resort where everything began was transformed into a community center open to everyone regardless of income. A plaque was installed near the entrance, dedicated to those who stand for the voiceless, and to Coco the dog who started a revolution. 1 year after the beach incident, Ryan opened Coco's Corner. It wasn't a cafe. Not exactly. It was a sanctuary. Part coffee shop, part animal rescue, part community gathering place. Built on land donated by the city, funded by the civil settlement, staffed by volunteers who believed in second chances. Lily ran the cafe side. Miguel, now 16 and healthy, worked the counter after school. Dr. Hayes partnered to provide free veterinary care for adopted animals, and Ryan supervised the dog training program, teaching rescue animals the skills they needed to become service dogs for veterans suffering from PTSD. Duke was his assistant instructor. "You're good at this," Lily said one afternoon, watching Ryan work with a nervous pit bull mix that had been rescued from a fighting ring. "I learned from the best." He scratched Duke behind the ears. "This old man taught me everything I know." The pit bull, newly named Jackson after the brother Ryan had lost, was making progress. Slowly, painfully. The dog had been hurt by humans taught to fear and fight. Now Ryan was teaching him something different. That trust was possible. That kindness existed. That not everyone wanted to cause pain. "Sound familiar?" Lily asked softly. Ryan looked at her. At this woman who had been hurt, who had been afraid, who had every reason to give up and hadn't. "Yeah," he said. "It does." Maria Vega became police chief of Coral Bay that spring. Her first act was to establish a victims advocacy unit. Her second was to require de-escalation training for every officer. Her third was to tear down the culture of silence that had allowed the Ashworths to flourish for so long. She visited Coco's Corner every Saturday morning. She always ordered the same thing, black coffee and a blueberry muffin, and she always sat at the same table, the one overlooking the beach where everything had changed. "You know," she said one morning, "I used to think justice was about punishment, about making the guilty pay. And now I think it's about healing, about giving people their lives back. She looked at him. About finding purpose in the wreckage. That sounds like wisdom. That sounds like therapy. 3 sessions a week. She smiled. You should try it. Maybe I will. His phone buzzed. A text from a number he didn't recognize. Mr. Mitchell. My name is Sarah Patterson. My father served with you in Afghanistan. He didn't come home. I've been trying to find someone who knew him, who could tell me what he was like. Would you be willing to talk? Ryan stared at the message. Another family. Another person searching for answers. Everything okay? Maria asked. Yeah. He pocketed the phone. Just another chance to do some good. The wedding was small. Just family and friends gathered on the beach at sunset. Dr. Hayes officiated. She had gotten ordained online specifically for the occasion. Carlos Mendez served as best man. Maria stood as maid of honor. Miguel walked Lily down the aisle, his heart strong, his eyes bright with tears. Who gives this woman to be married? Dr. Hayes asked. I do, Miguel said. His voice cracked on the words. But only because he's the only guy good enough for my sister. Laughter rippled through the small crowd. Ryan waited at the altar they had built from driftwood and flowers. Duke sat beside him, a bow tie clipped to his collar. Coco sat on the other side, matching bow tie tail wagging. Lily walked toward him in a simple white dress, her chestnut hair loose around her shoulders, her feet bare in the sand. She was the most beautiful thing Ryan had ever seen. I wasn't looking for this, he said when it was time for his vows. I wasn't looking for anything. I was running. From my past. From my pain. From the ghosts of men I couldn't save. He took her hands. And then I saw a puppy running across a beach, and a girl being held down by men who thought power gave them the right to hurt. And something inside me remembered who I was, who I wanted to be. Lily was crying. So was he. You didn't just save me, Lily. You reminded me that saving people is what I was put on this earth to do, and I want to spend the rest of my life doing it. With you. The rings were exchanged, the vows were spoken, and when Dr. Hayes pronounced them husband and wife, Duke howled with joy. It was the most perfect sound Ryan had ever heard. 2 years after the beach incident, Ryan received a letter. It came from a maximum security federal prison in Colorado. The return address said Ashworth B. He almost threw it away, but something made him open it. Mr. Mitchell, I don't expect you to read this. I wouldn't if I were you, but I'm writing anyway, because my therapist says it's part of the process. I've had a lot of time to think in here. About what I did. About who I was. About the people I hurt. I was raised to believe that money made me special, that rules were for other people, that I could do whatever I wanted without consequences. You proved me wrong. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. For the dog, for the girl, for the boy, for all of it. And I wanted to thank you. Because if you hadn't stopped me that day, I would have kept going. I would have hurt more people. I would have destroyed more lives. You didn't just save them. In a way, you saved me too. Brandon Ashworth. Ryan read the letter 3 times. Then he showed it to Lily. What do you think? She asked. I think people can change. Some of them. Sometimes. Do you forgive him? Ryan thought about the question. About Coco's broken ribs. About Lily's terror. About Miguel's endangered heart. I don't know, he said finally. But I think I can let go of the anger. And maybe that's close enough. Lily kissed his cheek. That's growth. That's therapy. He smiled. 3 sessions a week. You were right. 3 years after the beach incident, Ryan Mitchell stood before a congressional committee. He had been asked to testify about military accountability, about the systems that had allowed his team to be abandoned, about the reforms that were needed to prevent it from happening again. Mr. Mitchell, the chairman said, you've been through an extraordinary ordeal. What would you say to other veterans who feel the system has failed them? Ryan thought about the question. about the 7 men who would never answer it themselves. I would say don't give up. I would say the truth matters even when powerful people try to bury it. I would say that justice isn't always fast, and it isn't always fair, but it's always worth fighting for. He paused. And I would say this: the measure of a nation isn't how it treats its most powerful citizens. It's how it treats its most vulnerable. The veterans who come home broken, the families who are lied to, the victims who are silenced. His voice strengthened. We can do better. We must do better. And if we refuse to give up, if we keep fighting, keep speaking, keep standing, eventually we will. The committee room was silent. Then slowly applause began to build. Ryan didn't bow, didn't smile. He just nodded once and stepped away from the microphone. Some battles were won with fists, others were won with words, and some, the most important ones, were won by simply refusing to stop. 5 years after the beach incident, Ryan Mitchell celebrated his daughter's first birthday. They named her Hope. She had Lily's chestnut hair and Ryan's gray-green eyes. She laughed at Duke, who had grown old and slow but still watched over her with unwavering devotion. She played with Coco, who had mellowed from a rambunctious puppy into a gentle guardian. The party was held at Coco's corner. Family and friends filled the space: Maria and her sister Sophia Carlos, and his wife, Dr. Hayes Jessica Blair, the families of the 7 fallen brothers. Miguel, now 18, was heading to college in the fall. Pre-med. He wanted to be a cardiac surgeon to save children the way surgery had saved him. Speech, someone called out. Ryan stood Hope balanced on his hip and looked at the people gathered around him. 5 years ago, I was a man with nothing. No home, no family, no purpose. I was running from ghosts I couldn't escape, trying to outrun a pain that followed me everywhere I went. He held his daughter a little tighter. Then I saw a girl in trouble, and a dog being hurt. And I made a choice. Not because I was brave, not because I was strong, but because something inside me remembered that there are things worth fighting for. He looked at Lily, at Miguel, at the friends who had become family. I didn't save anyone that day. They saved me, by reminding me that purpose isn't something you find, it's something you build. One choice at a time, one day at a time, one act of courage at a time. Hope grabbed his nose and laughed. Everyone laughed with her. So here's to all of you, Ryan said, raising his glass. To the ones who refuse to look away, to the ones who stand when standing is hard, to the ones who believe that ordinary people can do extraordinary things. He smiled. And to Coco, the dog who started it all. Coco barked on cue. The crowd cheered, and Ryan Mitchell, once lost, now found, held his family close and let himself feel something he had denied himself for far too long: joy. Later that night, after the guests had gone and Hope was sleeping, Ryan walked to the beach with Duke. The old German shepherd moved slowly now, his joints stiff, his muzzle white, but he still walked beside Ryan with the same loyalty he had shown for 9 years. They stopped at the spot where everything had changed. "We did it, boy," Ryan said softly. "We actually did it." Duke leaned against his leg. Ryan looked at the stars, at the same sky his brothers had looked at on their last night alive. "I hope you're proud," he whispered to them. "I hope you can see what came from your sacrifice. I hope you know that your deaths weren't meaningless, that they led to something, to justice, to healing, to hope." The waves whispered their response. Duke lifted his head and howled one long, beautiful note that rose toward the heavens. And somewhere Ryan believed 7 men heard it. He turned and walked back toward home, toward his wife, toward his daughter, toward the life he had never dared to imagine. The road had been long, the battles had been hard, the scars would never fully heal. But Ryan Mitchell had learned something in the years since a puppy crossed an invisible line on a beach in Florida. That sometimes the darkest moments lead to the brightest futures. That sometimes the most broken people find the deepest purpose. That sometimes miracles don't arrive with thunder or fire. Sometimes they arrive quietly through a stranger who refuses to look away. If this story touched your heart, take a moment today to be that stranger. Stand for someone who cannot stand for themselves. Speak for someone whose voice has been silenced. Love someone who has forgotten what love feels like. Share this story so others may be reminded that goodness still walks among us. Leave a comment to let someone know they are not alone. Subscribe to this channel so more voices of hope can be heard. And may God bless you, protect you, and guide you, especially when the road feels long and the night feels dark. Because here is the truth that Ryan Mitchell discovered on a beach in Florida. We cannot change the whole world. But we can refuse to turn away when something wrong happens right in front of us. And sometimes that is enough to change everything. Amen.